Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. I am Conrad and I used to play the clarinet back in elementary school through a little bit of college. And rest in peace, Christopher Smith, who was my band director back when I was 8 or 9 years old.
And I'm Gyi Sokolakis from Attorney Sync, and I played the tuba, the sousaphone, and the saxophone.
Which saxophone?
Mostly alto, but I did also play some tenor, but mostly alto, and never baritone.
I played the tenor sax as well. So clarinet to tenor sax is pretty easy. And then I also learned the flute because the fingerings for the saxophone and the flute are identical. And I just gave away my tenor sax, which I've never used in the last 30 years. I gave it to a graduating senior. It was a really high-end saxophone back in the day, and she was delighted. She was one of my daughter's friends and was talking about how she wanted to be able to play in college. And I was like, listen, I've got this great old Selmer saxophone sitting upstairs gathering dust. So that was my good deed for a little while ago. Listen, we're not talking about music today. This is Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. We have just wrapped up, if you're listening to this recently, we have just wrapped up the Lunch Hour Legal Marketing Summit. We are recording this on 9/17, 2 weeks before the Lunch Hour Legal Marketing Summit. So, Gyi, before the summit ends, we are going to talk about what we think is going to happen at the summit. What's going to be the best part, Gyi?
The best part is going to be seeing all of these faces, many who we know virtually, we know as listeners to the show, we know as, on social, and I really can't wait to meet some of these folks face to face. There's just, I was at this other conference last week, and people went out of my way to say what an impressive job they thought we did in assembling this speaker lineup. So super grateful for all the speakers and can't wait to see them in person.
And the good thing for you listening right now is because this is coming out right at the tail end of Lunch Hour Legal Marketing Summit, we're not going to pitch Lunch Hour Legal Marketing Summit at all for the rest of this podcast. The first time in probably 6 or 7 episodes.
All right. Well, instead of Lunch Hour Legal Marketing Summit, Conrad, what are we talking about today?
As usual, we are going to go into the news. We've got a good lineup of interesting news. And then, as promised last time, we're going to go deep on Reddit.
Music.
Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, teaching you how to promote, market, and make fat stacks for your legal practice. Here on Legal Talk Network.
So, Gyi, we spoke last podcast about Reddit being a major impact on the LLMs and the AIOs and the chat GPTs and all of those things. And so prior to that, I was doing a bunch of research. I've spent a lot of time, I spent 1,000% more time on Reddit in the last month than I have for the rest of my life. And one of the things that somebody noted, someone who will go unnamed, but somebody noted, and I was going to make this a news item and then it turned into our full segment. There is a digital marketing agency that is spamming the crap out of Reddit on behalf of their clients. So a bunch of law firms that are all tied back to the same agency, really just spamming the crap out of Reddit.
And by spam, what you really mean is they're astroturfing Reddit. They're creating fake profiles and saying nice things and endorsing firms on Reddit.
They're endorsing firms as if they have worked. Let me put it this differently. There's a handful of firms that all of a sudden seem to have a whole bunch of Reddit endorsement about them being best PI lawyer in Chattanooga. I'm pulling Chattanooga out of the air.
Which, by the way, is clearly a violation of the rules of professional conduct, as well as the FTC's rules on fake social media signals.
So, but Gyi, what if I don't know what my agency is doing?
That is not, it's clearly in the rules of professional conduct that you are responsible for the activities of people that you are paying to do work on your behalf.
Okay. So, yes, big problem. So I was like, okay, let's go deeper into Reddit. We should talk about Reddit. So that's kind of a non-news item, but the law firms, the industry is moving heavily towards Reddit because of AIOs. Like, I think that is a big,
not just AIOs. I think the big thing was, for me, this deal that Google made with Reddit, where they're the licensing deal.
Yep.
That really showed a huge uptick in this discussion and forum results in the search engines. And so, well, not search engines, in Google. And so what you saw was like these lower funnel non-brand queries, like best car accident lawyer in Chicago. You get this discussion and forum section of the SERP. And usually it's Reddit, Quora, and Avo tend to dominate that section. But
good old Avo.
That's a great, exactly. And, it's a great way to take advantage of Reddit's SEO power by showing right up in top of the search in these forum and discussion sites. That to me is what was the big driver of this. But certainly not to diminish those other things that you're talking about.
No. But so I want to go back to the history of that deal, because I went back and did a little research on that. That happened it was announced February of 24 before Reddit's IPO, which happened, I want to say, in March of that year. So right before their IPO, they announced this big $60 million annual. It's not just one-off. It's an annual licensing deal. Represents about 12% of their revenue, I believe, that deal. It was interestingly, Gyi, I kind of did a little deep dive on this. There was a deal that followed up in May between Reddit and OpenAI. And so very important to note that this was not an exclusive deal just for Google. And then later on, and this happened very recently, this was back a couple months ago, Reddit sued Anthropic for scraping content and using that content to drive and train Anthropic's AI, Claude. And so this is a big deal. It's big money. And it's having a big impact, both from an SEO perspective and an AI perspective. And so, Gyi, I thought we should go into a little bit deeper into Reddit karma. We're going to talk about karma and why it's important. And then we'll take a break and talk about ways to build Reddit karma. I feel weird saying Reddit karma. I feel like this is something that might have been invented back in like MBA school as some like philosophical thing, Reddit karma. But yet here we are professionally talking about Reddit.
At least it's not clout.
Clout with a K. Do you remember that?
Clout? Yeah.
Clout with a K, baby.
Clout
wow. That brings me back. For those of you who are over 40, you might, and early social media adopters, you will remember Clout with a K. What was that, a score of Facebook, or was it an amalgamation of social media profiles with like a follower count that then gave you a score? Can you remember?
It was an amalgamation. I was reading the Wikipedia entry for Clout.
Okay.
It used Bing, Facebook, Foursquare, Google+, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Wikipedia, and YouTube.
Okay. I like it. I mean, interestingly, the concept.
I like it too. I think it was it was overly hyped. But yeah.
It was overly hyped. But I remember looking at my Clout score on the regular when I was working at aforementioned Avo, right?
Right. And I think that there's,
and
maybe not publicly, but I think a lot of the systems today are, designed to be working this way.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to talk about karma. Reddit karma. Not karma in terms of being a good person. Clearly not karma in terms of being a good person, but Reddit karma. So karma, you can build karma points at Reddit, and that is really driven by posting and commenting. And it is an upvote and downvote score, like very, very community driven, which therefore means it's very, very easy to manipulate of your profile. And very simplistically, the more karma points you have, the greater your distribution is. It also, if you don't have a lot of karma, there are lots of really interactive subs that you can actually not get into because there's like a minimum threshold to actually get in. So, Gyi, I did a little research on this. I couldn't find any direct correlation, but have you seen anything with the amount of karma points having an impact on the AIOs, or is it really just the content and the distribution of that content?
That's a very interesting question. I have not seen that.
I haven't seen it.
Again,
I looked for it.
My real focus is on the discussion and forum results. And those tend to not be a reflection so much of the, karma or threads or anything. It's that those subreddits, they tend to be active and they are relevant to the query. So, for example, and we'll talk more about this when we get to the tactile side of things, but if you see a discussion and forum subreddit show up for a relevant query for you, it might behoove you to participate in that subreddit from a marketing standpoint, not in the pay your agency to post fake stuff there, but to actually be engaged on those local subreddits.
Okay, let's talk about what it means as a law firm to be engaged on those local subreddits. And I think overall social media in general, but I think the principles across platforms. But when you say to be engaged, I'm going to throw the softball. Do you mean like, hey, if you're looking for an attorney, what do you mean, dude?
No,
what do you mean? Are we taking the Josh Hodges approach of like, I love this ice cream shop? What are you talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Also share something valuable. If you can answer a question, answer a question. If you can share an experience, share an experience. As you mentioned, Reddit in particular, I would say this is a distinction, right? Like you can go on Meta, your profile, and write, I'm a great personal injury lawyer, free consultation. And you know what? Nothing's going to happen. Meta's probably not going to remove that post. Probably not going to be a problem for you. You do that
same with LinkedIn, right?
Yeah,
right?
Same with LinkedIn. You do that on a subreddit, boom, you're out of there.
Right. And that is the downvote concept, right? Moderated.
Moderated, yeah. It might not just be a downvote, might be peace out, violation of our subreddit policies.
Goodbye.
And those, depending on what subreddit you're in, the moderators can be very active and aggressive in their dropping the ban hammer on you.
Yes. And it might, we'll keep this one to myself.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sorry. No, I'm protecting someone else
in
not sharing. I'm happy to kind of go open.
Yeah. And in fact, many of the profiles that you're referring to, we know that they were removed.
Yeah. That's where I was going. Maybe we shouldn't even talk about that because of
karma.
Who shared that with us because of
karma. Because of our subreddit karma. I think the other thing too to keep me, I was just doing this in the same vein, and I don't know how tactical this is because I'm certainly not. Neither of us are encouraging people to do this, but like I did, go do a Google search for Reddit profiles for sale, and you can see that there's a bustling economy of aged Reddit profiles and old Reddit accounts for sale for people to do exactly this. And this goes to the heart of why the internet is fundamentally broken right now, is that nothing is real. It's all bought and paid for. And these platforms don't have a ton of incentive to actually do anything about it. And so, Reddit's one of the exceptions because they do have human moderation. And so it tends to be a little bit, quote unquote, cleaner. But still, it's, people get by moderation even on, moderated subreddits. So just something to be aware of. And, I was going to ask you, Conrad, is your firm doing any work, or will maybe be doing some work to, on profiles where you have a client that might have some visibility to report profiles and subs that are clearly fake?
Are we
like
burning,
we might do with fake reviews?
Are we burning or fake offices? Remember that?
Fake fake reviews.
We go way back into there was a time where we did 15% of our revenue burning fake offices. That was.
And then you got overwhelmed by the deluge and decided we can't keep up.
No. And then Google stopped giving a shit. Right.
Right.
That's what happened. If it still worked, I would 100% do that on behalf of our clients. But and in all fairness to Google, COVID changed the
No
way
fairness.
we work.
No fairness to Google, Conrad. No fairness.
No. I mean,
Google.
like COVID changed the way we work, right? You know that. And so the fake office, the satellite office concept is actually a genuine business model at this point in time. And they haven't caught up to how to deal with that. That is a thing. What
about fake reviews?
Well, fake reviews, big problem. You and I have talked about fake reviews on here for a long time. Very difficult to have anything done with it. What about, and so this is another precursor. I was thinking this is another, we need to book this guy. We need to talk about the fake edits, the false edits to law firm profiles, right? We dealt with that for our agency. I thought you dealt with that for your agency. We're dealing with that with some of our clients right now. We have a really interesting lawyer who specializes in this. We need to get him on the pod at some point in time. That would be great content. I am digressing, however. You asked, are we getting involved in this? We're doing, so full disclosure, we're doing a bunch of things on the social media front to think about, we call this AI building blocks. What are the things that we need to be doing to make sure that our clients are showing up in the AI overviews and across all the different LLM driven AI.
I would love to. Are you willing to share those things, or is that still work in progress or secret?
Well, it's a work in progress. I'm not sure how much secret saucy. This is a good podcast. Do we want to? Let me think about how much of my secret sauce I want to share with you.
Yeah, I'm super curious because in my view, there isn't actually a ton to do beyond traditional notions of what we should have been doing from an SEO standpoint.
I think the weighting is probably different.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. Prioritization could be a little different.
That's right.
Citations, obviously, we thought citations were trash, and now they might.
Reddit's a great example. Did I spend a ton of time thinking about Reddit before these studies about Reddit being a primary driver on AI? No, really not at all. And so this is a great example of where we have adjusted tactics because of this. And I think here's a caveat to the listener. I have no idea if we're right about this, right? This is based on research and supposition and trying to tie some dots together. I bet 60% of our work is really, really well directed and 40% of it is a complete waste of time.
But I think this is a really good point because it so much of what we do is based on prioritization, right? I mean, whether it's technical SEO, whether it's content, in a perfect world, you would do all the things, right? If limitless resources be everywhere. Can't hurt. Resources are limitless. But because the resources are not limitless, part of our job is deciding where to put priorities. And certainly some of that is even in the bucket, which you just alluded to, which is in the, call it research and development. Like, hey, we're going to take a certain percentage of the resources we're allocating to this account to try to do some new stuff that we think might have some upside, but it's not as tried and true. My thing that, and you've already kind of responded to this, but it's like in a world of perfect resources, before AI, you would have been doing Reddit too. It's just like you didn't prioritize Reddit because there was a bunch of other things that you thought were more impactful for clients than Reddit. And so, because the reason I bring this up is because there is this emerging, I want to be judicious to the people offering it, this GEO optimization
I was waiting for it. I knew you were going to say GEO. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Gyi, what does GEO stand for?
Generative engine optimization.
There you go.
And this is kind of the joke right now in the SEO community is like, what's the acronym that we're using for this new stuff that everybody's trying to sell? And again, I'm sure there are listeners that are either currently purchasing or currently experimenting with these additional service offerings to show up in these, in the LLMs. And I would love to hear from you. I would love to, there's talk of this chunking of content and there's talk of, trying to seed. And the real truth is that we don't even know. It's not, we talked about this last time, but the LLMs aren't reporting on there's no analytics.
There's the difficult part, right?
Yeah, there's no search console for it. You don't even know if the users are using these prompts, really. And then again, you add personalization to that. You add all the follow-up prompting. you add all that stuff to it, and you're going to sit here and tell me that you're going to sell, GPT stuff. Like, I don't know.
Well, so here's my pushback on that.
Mm-hmm.
Just because there is a vacuum of reporting, and by the way, anyone who says they've figured this out, because there's a vacuum of reporting, anyone who says they've figured this out is full of shit, because you genuinely cannot validate that. You genuinely cannot validate that you have nailed this, because the reporting is so bad and there's so much personalization. It is a false claim. Having said that, just because you can't see the result, I think we're in this place right now where just because I can't see the result does not mean I'm not working to produce the result, because that result is happening and we're seeing those changes happen, right? And so it's much more speculative. It's much less, I put this in, I got that out, because what I got out of it is much harder to see. It really is. For my take, it doesn't mean we shouldn't be playing in that game.
As we are diving into our next segment here, a humble ask: if you've been a long-time listener of Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, please head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify's and drop a nice word about how you've been enjoying the podcast. It's really the only way that we can get feedback for the show, and we're super grateful that you're here listening. So let us know what you think. And with that, Conrad, let's dive into some tactics to actually, we have in here to build Reddit karma, but I would like to broaden the discussion to what are some tactics that we can use to actually use Reddit as a tool to grow our law firms.
Well, what I thought you were going to say is, if you have a big Reddit karma count, please on Reddit talk about how this is the best digital marketing podcast for lawyers. I'm just kidding.
Yes, Lunch Hour Legal Marketing does have a Reddit page, a subreddit. So go join it.
Go join it and spam with us.
Yes.
So you wanted to expand the conversation, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, we can talk karma. I just think for me, it's more I wouldn't get overly focused on optimizing karma, so to speak. But I'll tell you this, in our experience, and when we look at relevant SERPs for our clients, especially those bottom of the funnel non-brand queries, like Reddit's there, whether it's in the AIOs, whether it's in the discussion and forum results. As you mentioned, it's very highly frequently sourced on ChatGPT. It's very frequently and regularly sourced on Perplexity. And so knowing all that, like, what do you tell a lawyer that they should be doing to leverage Reddit as part of their digital marketing mix?
So I think this starts with content. And I'm going to look at Reddit as an expansion of the content distribution that you're already creating. So I'm making a fallacious assumption, dear listener, that you are already creating interesting content, right? And some of you are, most of you are not. So that is a starting point. But I think one of the powerful parts about Reddit is all of the different subs are so extremely well structured. It does actually help. The structuring of how Reddit is built helps the LLMs understand what content is about and what it is focused on. In the same way that we used to talk about website navigation and folder hierarchy from an SEO perspective, the same thing, the same structure exists within Reddit. So if you are putting out content, finding Reddit as a place for you to continue to push out content. There's the concept of posting karma versus comment karma, but posting stuff that's actually interesting and timely, super, super valuable. But it assumes you're already doing that. And when you're thinking about things, there's arcane legal content. There are tons of arcane legal subreddits. So it is not like there is a missing spot for that. What I do not believe exists, Gyi, outside of spam, are subreddits for the top 10 things to do when you're in a car accident. And so you have to think about the interestingness of your content and whether or not people really give a shit.
Yeah, that's an interesting frame there. Where I was going to go with this is the first thing to do, in my opinion, is to go find relevant subreddits. Okay. So, I was, and again, I just doing a your typical lower funnel, best car accident lawyer near me, or best whatever lawyer you want near me, and go look and see if Google's serving up discussion and forum results. Certainly if they're serving AIOs and Reddit is sourced in the AIO, that's another place to look. But I'm very hyper focused on this discussion and forum answer stuff. And if you look at it, if you do this in various cities, you'll see there are some that are like just the city sub. Some might be like a more of a local advice type of sub. And people in there asking these questions, who do you recommend? And I would go be active in those subreddits. Again, not to raise your hand and be like, I'm the best lawyer ever here, but to share experiences and, educate folks on some of the issues that people might be facing, depending on the, type of situation they're facing. And then I would, of course, subscribe to those subreddits and regularly participate in the conversations there. And again, just looking at the example I'm looking at right here on my screen, the Reddit community, you've got questions that are within a year and very recent comments. The other sites that are listed, like Avo, no one's posted a new Avo answer in 6 years in this particular SERP. And so it's certainly, in my opinion, it behooves you to be active in those local subs, especially when they're they're showing up in a search for a relevant non-brand query. Beyond that, I would also look at these like topical subs, and you're probably even going to find, these hyper local subreddits that are like neighborhoods and stuff. And so that's kind of step one in my book for Reddit strategy, is go find these super relevant, topically relevant, geographically relevant subreddits and subscribe to them and participate in the conversations there.
So those hit two elements of my 4 easy steps for building. I know you don't love the karma thing, but building your influence on Reddit. And one was local. So and I think it's really important when you think about the content that you're creating, right? The content, and we've got some great examples of social media people who are creating amazing content about a geographic area, right? And we've overused the Chicago food guys, Ken Levinson, as an example of that. But it's a great example of that, where there are a lot of people who are really into food. There are a lot of people in Chicago. Like, you can find those things very, very easily. And if you're already doing it and you're already interested in it, it's very easy to be heavily engaged from a local perspective. That is a really easy thing for you to find. And it's a really easy thing for you to be engaged in, because it's like, what are your favorite restaurants in North Chattanooga? Like, there's so much for you to be able to contribute. It is easy. The other thing that you mentioned, Gyi, was the timeliness of things. And one of the fascinating parts of that deal with Reddit and Google, and presumably also with OpenAI. I don't know that is the case. I didn't research it that deep, but it's certainly with Reddit and Google. I can't imagine it's not with OpenAI. This is real-time access, right? So you're literally feeding into Reddit. You're literally feeding information into Google in real time on Reddit, right? Which is very, very interesting, because these results are being processed in real time on these AIOs. And one of the recommendations for participating in Reddit is to really work on finding things that are timely, right? Really be those early answers, really be very involved, and find places where people have not commented yet. There is value in actually doing that, because you are going to get more exposure as more and more people see that, etc. Totally. Responding quickly is super easy. And then actually you hit point number 3. You hit all three of all three of the 4 things you hit. Actually maybe even 4 of the 4 things. The number 3 was asking questions. So it is very easy to get engagement when you're asking questions. You and I do this all the time with Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. What do you want to hear about? So asking questions. That is great content to get engagement. It's a super easy thing. Who's your favorite hairdresser? Who are the best insurance agents? Like, what's your favorite place to go? There's tons of ways to actually build out influence just through asking questions.
I'm going to throw another one at you. It's not on your list.
Go.
This is more of a needle in the haystack, but you might ask, historically we would say, if you have a happy client and you're like going to send them to Google to leave a testimonial, you might ask your clients, you might put Reddit in the mix of like, hey, do you happen to use Reddit? Because if you do, you might send them to a subreddit to say something nice about your firm as opposed to your Facebook page or Google Business Profile. Now, again, statistically, you're probably not going to run into a lot of Reddit power users, but if you happen to help one, that might be something to add into your review mix.
Let me take that one step further. This comes off. This is gold from Gyi. He talked about running into subreddit power users. And one of the things that I think we need to think through is using, and this is not just Reddit, this is social media in general, and some platforms make it easier than others. The best way to run into someone who is a Reddit power user is to spend a lot of time looking for Reddit power users and building a relationship with them, right? And so, and it's fairly easy to identify those people. Like there's literally a score. We're talking about this silly thing called karma score. There's literally a score. You can find the people who have the biggest influence in Chattanooga. I don't know why I'm stuck on Chattanooga recently.
Yeah, Chattanooga on the mind today, my friend.
We have no clients in Chattanooga, but if you are in Chattanooga, apparently I want to talk to you. You can find those people and you can build relationships with those people and you can work over time in a non-solicitous fashion to turn them into your heroes, right? This is Bill. He's a great guy. He happens to be a lawyer who might be able to help you. That person has a lot of influence. And that concept exists across social media platforms. But I think that's a really good next step on this.
Yeah, and take that idea, and I think you kind of said this, but maybe piece it together for folks that didn't connect this dot. You mentioned Josh Hodges, and he does some awesome stuff with his local influencers, but same concept, like there are people on Reddit who, they're in a community that are very active on Reddit. And if you're doing things like collaborations and co-marketing activities with other businesses, and then working with these Reddit influencers to help highlight those good works that you're doing in your local community, I think that's a really powerful way to gain visibility in that Reddit community. And again, the point isn't to be like, hey, Reddit influencer, go leave me a review about how awesome I am. It's right. Hey, we're partnering with this local restaurant to do a giveaway, dinner giveaway. Would you help us promote it? And, some of these influencers actually, would take a fee for that. Others will just want to promote the local businesses. And so anyway, it's a whole new idea for, these local influence on the Reddit platform that I think could be valuable for your firm, especially in highly visible subreddits.
I have to be honest, what you just said there, we should just take that clip. That should be the entire podcast. It is. Like, that's the whole fucking point. That's the point. So you got all these marketers spamming the shit out of Reddit because they're trying to influence. Like, you're missing the way to do this the right way. And so that is the way to actually think about it. Now, two things. Number one, that takes a ton of time. I do not want to discount the amount of time that takes to actually do. And you're not going to do it if you don't naturally want to do it. So it's difficult and it's tempting to try and outsource this to someone else. And they will not do it as well as you will, assuming that you will actually do the work. And the other thing, and I hate to say this and add this, but as I was looking at and doing research around expanding influence on Reddit, the concept of spam came up over and over and over again. As being very effective. So I don't want to suggest to you, like we've been kind of poo-pooing spam, but there are lots of ways to build up your influence with spam. You talked already about the market for existing Reddit accounts. There's subreddits just to build up your influence. Karma for free keeps getting cited, but there are lots of ways to spam the crap out of this. And I cannot tell you that it doesn't work. And I cannot tell you that anyone's really coming down on it when done carefully. And that's what, in fact, initially what pushed us into this conversation was someone using Reddit to spam their law firms.
Like all spam, it works until it doesn't, or until your state bar or the FTC comes knocking.
Or until your competitor's agency tell the state bar to come knocking. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, that's the most common way that all of this stuff gets reported, right?
Yeah.
Well, Conrad, since this is being recorded before the summit, congratulations on an excellent summit, because we know it's going to be great. So good to see you in Vegas. And we hope that listeners will pick up the momentum from this first summit and join us next time and for our next episode. But thank you so much for listening. If this is your first time dropping in, please do subscribe to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing on your various podcast platforms, YouTube, and anywhere else you see us. Thank you so much. Until next time, Gyi and Conrad saying farewell.
Money makes a world go round. Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round.